How many people did he murder?
All right, I don't know. Is everyone still arguing? I'm bored of it now, so we're doing a new thing. So there's been this kind of trend on Twitter. Isn't a video about Twitter, don't worry, it's just a pretext. But like people like Ty Rivera and like Jack Jewell, who are sort of right-leaning like gay comedians. I say that very broadly. I don't really know their politics so much. But they're kind of pushing back a lot on like TERF kind of stuff, like more extreme like TERF stuff. And Ty Rivera in particular has been quite like on it with this stuff. Like he's got this video now called "What is a TERF? How a woman got commandeered. Trans women versus trans women." So one word versus two words. So yeah, let's see. Because this is quite interesting to me. It seems like they're coming more towards my perspective because I'm not for like TERFs. Obviously, I'm a trans woman. Why would I be? And you know, I guess we'll get more into it. So let's see.
What is a TERF?
TERFs, or trans exclusionary radical feminists, believe that in order to be a woman,
I like Ty Rivera. Like he's quite funny on Twitter. He seems like a little unhinged, but in the way that I personally really like. I mean, I like people like Destiny, you know what I mean? Like kind of crazy, but we'll say whatever shit they want to say, and I respect that a lot. But yeah, the MAGA hat. I mean, I can't with Donald Trump, but I try and just you know, preach transitioned. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Yeah, I guess he did. Maybe that's why I'm not seeing their videos anymore. I swear they like got de-algoed or something, Abba and Preach, which is a shame. I like their channel. There's one video I really want to watch on stream, which, I mean, I might do today if I find time. But them talking about hate speech and like slurs and stuff. Because I really feel what they're saying, you know, because it can be applied into different perspectives. But anyway, we're hearing what Preach is saying. Yeah, like Abba and Preach. I like Abba and Preach.
you need to have been assigned female at birth.
Okay, never mind.
Or a biological woman.
I mean, what's the face about? Like, you don't know what a biological woman is? Look at yourself. You've got a beard and eyeshadow. Is eyeshadow all you think it takes to be a woman? It's like these queens think that makeup and lashes are what...
I can't tell if the TikTok is actually this person or like this person. I mean, Alexander is a guy's name.
make you a woman. And that's why women get tired of it, is because it is like...
It's like skinny Preach, I guess. Like if he lost all the muscle, which I guess he slowly would if he took HRT.
A caricature of what a woman's supposed to be.
They don't believe that trans women are women, and they see them as a threat to womanhood, which is why they oppose trans women in women's only spaces, like women's restrooms and women's sports.
This belief continues to further...
Women's sports? Hang on.
Believe that trans women are women, and they see them as a threat to womanhood, which is why they oppose trans women in women's only spaces, like women's restrooms and women's sports.
Okay, so the restrooms I don't care about as much. Sports? Like, Jesus Christ, what is this wording? They see trans people...
Which is why
a woman's supposed
to oppose trans women in women's only spaces.
They see trans women as a threat to womanhood.
It's like women's restrooms and women's sports.
That's why trans women are banned from women's sports, because they're a threat to womanhood. I don't think anyone thinks that. I think that person, that trans Preach person, that's the first time anyone said that. That's crazy. What are you talking about?
This belief continues to further endanger trans women in a society...
Endanger trans women. Sure, okay, yeah. Let's maybe talk about different kinds of trans women, different demographics in different places, and discuss which ones are the ones in like the danger and which ones are actually probably fine. I mean, I would guess someone that looks like this living in a white country like America. What the fuck is womanhood? Exactly. Like, it's bizarre. But yeah, this person does not look like the kind of trans person that's typically at that like way elevated threat of getting hurt, you know? That's not to say that none of these people do, but like, it really does like vary. Like trans sex workers and like people in like South America and stuff, like, let's be honest, they're pulling the average up like a lot.
That already tells them they're not valid.
Can we stop?
Angry 90s femaleness, yes. There we go.
Acting like society tells us we're valid or not valid. Society is just society. Society does not decide.
Well, yeah, because these people need constant validation from like outside sources. I mean, it tells you all you need to know in a lot of ways.
Our validity.
It creates more noise and misinformation surrounding them,
How often are those trans women and trans men sexually assaulted by other trans people, though?
which fosters violence and hatred. Although the word feminist is in the acronym, they're not feminists at all. True feminists stand for
Oh yeah, they're not feminists. True feminists stand for all women,
women.
including the ones that are male.
Oddly enough, TERFs are generally accepting of trans men, but that's
Is that true? It depends what they say. I don't know.
because they see them as biological women, which is problematic on its own.
Problematic. Oh, you people are just scared of the concept of sex. You're scared of the concept of male and female. You're scared of the concept of what brought you into this earth. It's so bizarre. Like, you're a female. It's okay. You can be a female and be what you want. You can have short hair and think what you want. I don't understand, man.
What do you mean biological women? Trans men are biological women, and you can take the quotes off because the quote implies that that's not true. Trans men are biological women. There's no two ways about it. There's nothing problematic about the truth.
Keep in mind that they are not to be confused with trans-inclusive
What is this? That's overkill, bro. It looks like you've put a finger over your nose. You need to blend that shit way more. Like, just calm it down a bit. I can't see who this person is.
feminists who accept trans women as women and understand the importance of intersectionality in feminism.
I just don't know why you'd want to look like this. Like, does this kind of go? I mean, you look super gay. I guess it works in that sense, but I don't know. It feels a bit incongruous. Like, what is the beard actually doing, you know?
Please share this post to spread knowledge.
What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, so if you don't remember that mess that was arguing with Blair White not too long ago.
And not even trans. Oh yeah, this person. Yeah, I know who this is. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, if you want to dress differently, fine. But like, why does it have to be like a human rights movement? Why can't you just be yourself and take life as it comes? I mean, I don't know. I say often that I don't think I'm oppressed because I don't. Because I just kind of live my life. Trans women in Brazil and Thailand are freaking out. Yeah, exactly. Like, when I hear this kind of stuff, it's always from like white Western trans women. It'd be like me saying it. Like, I'm really not part of that like elevated risk, really. Like, is my risk higher than a cis person's around here? Like, maybe slightly, but probably not even that, because people just kind of leave me alone, you know what I'm saying? Because I leave other people alone.
And had the rolled up condom on his head.
And we can get into who's really trans later.
Maybe I'll play a quick clip here so you guys do.
I can understand like how some women may feel unsafe with men in the restroom. Men. When I say men, I mean
men. But these people can't understand why other people don't see their gender, even though they've got a beard, which is just an extremely rare thing to see on a woman. Not impossible, but extremely rare. Especially is because even if a woman does get facial hair, it's not necessarily following like a specific pattern. Like, this is like sculpted and stuff, you know?
men.
When you say men, you mean you. Anyway, before we go any further, I'm just going to ask, as always, that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want.
Trans people in the UK have a lower murder rate than average because they tend to be white and middle class. I mean, that would make sense. Listen, I don't live a dangerous lifestyle, so I think that probably factors into it, so.
A comment, just help me on the algorithm. Just leave a knife, because trans and real women are gonna come for my neck. So here's the deal, you guys. I have been into it with the TERFs over.
Yeah, here we go. This is like the shit that I'm interested in. This is what he's been up to.
On X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. I'm gonna do a full video about it. But I wanted to share this video because I don't think a lot of everyday women, and even women that are starting to identify as TERFs, understand how the word woman got obscured and how it ended up being appropriated by trans activists. I'm always clear to make the distinction between trans people and trans activists, because I know a lot.
Yeah, I like this kind of thing. This is what we need more of. Like, I try and do it as well. When I generalize trans people, I have to try and not do that, because I don't mean trans people. And even the trans people that are in this kind of weird culty shit that I'm seeing more and more of, like plenty of them are like way better than this. They just don't realize like what they got themselves in for. But yeah, like it's really good to see people making the distinction and like recognizing that plenty of us are like not on this shit, you know?
A lot of people are not on the inside like this when it comes to these kinds of things, and they don't realize. They'll be like, trans women are trying to take over womanhood. Trans women are not.
I love you too.
Trying to take over womanhood. Trans activists are trying to take over womanhood, and women back in about 2015 started helping them do that. And had women not encouraged this, and I'm not trying to victim blame, I'm just telling you guys the way that it went down because I don't think a lot of people understand. And so when people get mad at me and they want to shoot the messenger because I tell them the way that it actually went down, they don't understand. I'm not against you. I wasn't against you back then. I personally kept reminding everybody because people forget. Because I'm a comedian, I usually am surrounded by younger people, so 20-somethings. And obviously, in 2015, I was still doing comedy. I've been doing comedy since 2003. And so that's when the millennials were really trying to push trans women are women. That's when that originally started. And me, because I felt it wasn't
Trans women are women. Trans women are women. I don't even know what trans women or women means. I don't say it. A trans woman and a woman are two different things, in my opinion. One's born male and one's born female. But I use trans women because it's a much nicer way of saying it than male. I'm not like undermining their like transition that way. And it is politeness, and not everyone has to do that. I'm not saying you have to do what I do, but that's kind of how I do it and why. And I think that's acceptable personally. I don't think we should be as like picky and like crazy about being misgendered and like crazy about pronouns and stuff, because most of that shit doesn't matter.
wasn't even about standing up for women, really. It was just about the distinction, because at that point, in that regard, there was nothing to stand up for women over. Women, for the most part, were happy with what their relationship was with the trans community as far as trans women went. And
Mike Siegel says a trans woman. Well, yeah, I mean, that's my perspective. Like, people can agree or disagree, but I'm trying to keep it real without being a dick. It's not easy to do sometimes. But anyway, hey, hope you're doing well. There isn't much gender dysphoria in African countries because people are just allow how to exist, how they feel most comfortable, and aren't formed into a pointless binary. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that you've never been to Africa and probably don't know a huge amount about that place. I feel like sex roles and stuff are probably more important in like those cultures. Like, I mean, traditionally it's the men that go out hunting and it's the women that rear the children, right? I don't know. I dismiss my own identity. I don't really have an identity. I'm just someone who was born male, and I've always felt like that kind of pull to be like more feminine, and it just never stopped. I mean, that's a basic version, you know.
And they were being very supportive, at least young women like that. And so they as well were pushing the trans women are women narrative. And so I was like, no, trans women are trans women. And part of the reason that I was saying,
yeah, Paggy, exactly. Like, I feel like it's probably the other way around.
That trans women are trans women was, one, because it's true. Two, because that's when it was starting where people were just coming out and immediately starting to say they were women. And
hey there, have you liked the stream? You should consider liking the stream. Hey.
Really trying to push that narrative like they were women. And it's like, you're not even in this yet. And the other reason was because I felt like if you just refer to a trans woman as a woman, that doesn't at all address the fact that there are differences even as far as life experiences. Like, when was the last time a genetic female, a woman, had to learn how to tuck? How often?
Yeah, in 2015 there was like terfs and stuff, but the kind of movement back then was it seemed a lot more extreme as well. I can't really remember too well. I only saw so much of it because I kind of avoided most of that kind of stuff. Like 2015 was when I started, like when I came out and when I started seeing a gender specialist, you know? But yeah, there was a movement, but it wasn't as big. It was very much like J.K. Rowling, and then like moving to like the more gender critical thing and more moderate people kind of coming in as well. that it's kind of evolved and it's become a lot more mainstream. So like I think the extreme end of it has always been there, but I think the extreme was still there back then, and less of the moderate people were. So it wasn't really taken as seriously.
Do genetic women, and I'm sure there are some, but how often do actual females have to get electrolysis on their facial hair? What percentage of females can talk about growing up as a little boy? None of them. Absolutely 0%, because it's not a thing. And so I was always very clear about the fact that there should be a distinction. And people shouted me down. They told me that I was being mean. They told me I was being hateful. They told me I was...
Yeah, they're telling you to just ignore sex in this equation when we haven't been given the good reason to. Like, sex is, like, observable, and it's, you know, in 99.9% of us or whatever, I guess, if we're saying that technically there's a few cases here and there of DSDs where they're neither male nor female, whatever. Because, you know, we're mammals and shit. So, like, it's a part of life. Whereas gender identity is very, like, theoretical, and how it works seems to be kind of willful. So at what point are you just kind of telling yourself what you are, you know what I mean? Or like learning from somewhere else and getting it that way.
was being transphobic. Now, keep in mind, these were millennial young women that were telling me this. And I was sticking to my guns and being like, you guys, it's just not accurate. It's not what it is. I've had trans friends my entire adult life. I told them what I tell you guys, trans friends my entire adult life. I'm not trying to at all be hateful, but it's just, there is a difference. Nobody wanted to believe me. Cut to 2024. And now a fair amount of trans activists think that they have rights to enter all women's spaces. And now there is no difference between a trans woman and a genetic female.
Yeah, we're just like lying to each other. We're lying to ourselves. We're teaching ourselves not to... Excuse me. We're teaching ourselves not to regard our sex and to pretend that doesn't exist. But... excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with me. But like, you can do that all you want, and you can say you're a woman and wear certain things, but you're born kind of how you're born. You can change certain things about you. Like, just taking HRT doesn't change your entire makeup. It changes certain things about you. And like, having surgery changes certain things about you. But like, I'm not a female, you know what I mean? And it seems a lot easier just to accept that and acknowledge that, you know, maybe I can be categorized separately from a man, but that doesn't mean that I'm there for a woman. You know, and if we're saying that gender is a spectrum and ignoring sex for a second, then yeah, I guess that's where that makes sense. But like, we act as if gender is like the overriding factor when you're born a certain way, you know. It works a certain way, unfortunately. Getting sex exists is dangerous in terms of health. Yeah. There's certainly respects in which a doctor should know your sex, and maybe other people as well. Like, it's absolutely, we shouldn't, I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, we shouldn't pretend that sex isn't a thing. And it feels like so many people are. Like, what? To make themselves feel a bit better? But you're constantly dealing with that, like, precipice. Because you want to be seen as a woman and you call yourself one, but there's always the chance that someone you come across won't. Isn't it just easier to just accept that you are what you are and that you're probably not going to get literally everyone to call you a woman, you know? Let's face it, like, most of us are only going to pass so well, so... Dysphoria comes downstream from ideology. It affects less people if the idea isn't put into everyone's head. Well, yeah, I mean, some people it seems to be like innate reasons, even if that's not necessarily saying that dysphoria is a thing. And then for some people it seems to come from external factors. And I think it just depends, like different people are different. Some people hear about it from other people and then get interested and start applying their own experiences. Some people just kind of have it in them. Like, it's just some kind of compulsion or something, and it's very difficult to explain. But yeah, my theory is that some people it's innate and some people it's not. Like, the gender dysphoria thing, it might be other things. Like, for someone like me, it might be because of trauma, it might be because of mental illness, but I don't know, you know. Being trans, like, is your best guess. No one knows that they're trans, it's your best guess. So yeah, I don't know. I think dysphoria can certainly be willed in through other things, if that makes sense. But I don't know, it is very hard to tell who are those people and who aren't.
And everybody's just supposed to go along with it. But unfortunately, that...
Yeah, and like compelled speech is another thing. Everyone hates it. if you're going to start forcing compelled speech, then you're straight away going to get a lot of problems from society.
Your guys' bed and you're going to have to lay in it. And I know people are going to get very upset with me, but I think in terms of words and the way that they've been commandeered in certain cases, I personally think that women just need to abandon the word women as far as what the fight is and just really hammer home the fact that they are female and make sure that you shore that up now. Because what they did with women is women or woman is a cultural thing and female is what you actually are or what your sex is. And sex is immutable. For right now, they're still saying that, even though certain people are having their driver's license markers changed to female in certain states. Texas has stopped that. Florida has stopped that. I'm not sure what other states are allowing it and which states have banned it. But those two states, I know.
You can pretty much guess. It follows the, the polling map pretty well. I suppose Alaska, there's going to be some places that like outlie.
No, are not allowing that anymore. But people were changing their gender markers. So if you're able to change from female to male or male to female on your driver's license, then at that point, nobody's going to be able to tell you no into entering any spaces of whatever sex.
Yeah, like when he's saying like give up the word women, like nah, I think it's probably going to end up happening that they win it back, if that makes sense. Because this trans thing, the way it currently is going to come crashing down anyway. Something's going to go beyond the pale for even the average person in terms of sports or detransitioning or something like that, maybe kids. And it's going to lead to like much worse than what we're seeing in the UK with like crackdowns on like the cast review, the levy review, you know, stuff like that. Which I say that, I mean, for me, I think it's a good thing because I want things to change. But yeah, we're on the Titanic if we're on Team TRA. That's like ultimately how it is. And I think giving up anything at this point seems crazy. It's like I don't agree with him in that way.
Says on your driver's license, because what are they going to do otherwise? Check your private parts? Because that's sometimes the way people act like things would go down, like there would be a way of checking other than your ID. But if your ID says that you are whatever you are, then the person that checks the ID would just have to be like, yeah, legally that's what they are. That's what.
Oh, hi Cryptish. What do you consider much worse? Sorry, was that to me or someone else? I'm not sure. But hey, hope you're doing good.
Where they go is in the women's bathroom. And I really do feel like no matter how supportive you are of people, that it should be okay to tell the truth. Because I see it both ways, you know?
Yeah, you can't coddle people, and we want to be coddled. It feels like, oh God, I'm going to say this until I'm fucking blue in the face, but it feels like you can't disagree with like anything when it comes to some like trans people. And it seems to fit the pattern. There are some that will just have normal conversations with you. And then there are others that have very specific ideology, it seems, and seem to have a lot of similar like lifestyle elements. And they're all like super hostile to any like difference of opinion. It's crazy.
Because there's people that are like, they're trying to force us to call them women and she and her. Nobody's trying to force you to do anything in most cases. Like that's trans activists that you probably never see in your life. When you say that, are you talking?
I'll do this pronoun thing if trans people insist out their vocabulary. Hey, I still use cis because sometimes when talking about trans issues, it is actually helpful to have a shorthand, as in like non-trans people. Like non-trans feels a bit weird, I don't know. So that's when I use it. I try not to like, you know, be like cis women, like you're a cis woman. Like I'd never say that, you know.
Talking about in real life that somebody's trying to force you to do that? Or are you talking about something you saw on the internet? Because there's quite a bit of difference between the two. And I don't know any actual transsexual people that are trying to force anybody to do anything. Now, if somebody...
Yeah, I'd like to think I'm not forcing anyone to do anything. I don't want to. Like, I know people don't like being asked to do stuff and like having stuff imposed upon them, especially like if it's before we've even like spoken or anything, when they're most likely to just not bother, because the more you know someone, the more they like humanize and stuff. But if you put up barriers to that straight away, then you end up being cut off straight away most of the time.
tells you, or you know that somebody is obviously trans and putting in the effort, because a lot aren't. But if you know this and then you choose to refer to them as he and him, or
I think, Wolfie, the problem with cis is that we're being told, well, not me, because I'm not one of them, but like people are being told to use like certain language to refer to trans people, and then certain language to refer to themselves, which those other people will also use on you. It feels like there's a lot of take and not much give, I guess, if that makes sense.
if they're a female to male, she and her, and then that person chooses.
And yeah, that is a problem, like the way people like TRA types use it, like, you know, when you've got, you know, like cis scum, I don't know if that's a good example. There's like so many like other cis okay shit like that. It's the same with the way people use like straights and stuff, I guess. But yeah, I don't know, like this kind of reverse bigotry shit that we've decided is okay, I really fucking hate. I don't see why I should be like bigoted towards like white people or like cis people or straight people because I'm supposedly oppressed by that. Who's oppressing me? Which fucking cis people are oppressing me, you know?
Not to hang out with you anymore. That's not trying to force you to do anything. That's just them enforcing their boundaries and the way that they want to be talked to. And that's completely fair in my opinion. But I don't know, when you say people are trying to force us to do this, who is trying to force you to do anything? If you don't want to address people the way that they want to be addressed, then you just don't hang out with trans people. It's as simple as that. And I don't know where the argument really came from anyway, because when I was younger, if somebody asked me a question about one of my friends, I would usually just say she's trans and then just move on. It was not a thing. And you didn't even say trans women, you just say she's trans and people would know what you're talking about. So yeah, so like I said, at a point the trans activists really
people absolutely use like cis like gratuitously for sure.
Adopted and then took over the term women. And I know that some women have a connection to that word. And
yeah, here's the other thing, like what Nomad is saying. It's like referring to someone as like a cis woman, especially if they don't straight away know what that means. It does, I can see why it would feel weird. So like, I'd use it in certain kinds of conversations and shit, but I wouldn't like call someone like, hey, you're a cis person, you know, you're a cis man, you're a cis woman. Like, I'd never do that. And like, I think some people probably would. Hey, Lieutenant Colonel Zula, hey, how you doing?
And they're like, it comes from womb. And okay, well, I get it. But the truth is, you have your own sisters to blame for letting it go. So the only person I really feel is truly sincere in that fight is J.K. Rowling. Because she does have the money to just be like, okay, I don't care.
Am I a trans woman? I am, yes.
I'm going to make this my thing. But outside of her, I see a lot of people like Kelly J. Keene, otherwise known as Posey Parker.
See, I don't like people like Kelly J. Keene. I think she's like pathological. And I think she is like one of the more extreme ones.
Trying to cash in by selling shirts and merch. And that's what that is with a lot of these people. Because everybody knows that this isn't going to change back.
Hey, thank you. I'm doing pretty good with it. So yeah, I don't know. It worked for me. I'm just looking at chat. Yeah.
Unfortunate for you ladies.
Yeah, telling you have a gender that matches your sex. Because that's a really weird way of putting it. I try not to put it that way. I think gender is like such a nebulous and poorly described concept that it's almost weird that we place any real importance on it, you know? Zontent. I said I don't have a gender. I said I don't have an identity, really. I don't identify as anything. I don't know what it means to identify as something. Like, I identify as a woman, do I? Or do I just feel like, you know, I have a push to be more feminine. I don't like, you know, like masculine within myself. I don't know. I mean, I don't know ultimately what the fuck I am anymore. I just kind of exist and I'm fine with that, so. Posey Parker. I don't know if she's a grifter, but she's like, she's pretty crazy.
Because I know that you are women and I will never go with the cis women thing. But the fact of the matter is the words woman and women have kind of been lost because for a couple.
Yeah, I know what someone else said about that. And I agree. I don't know why you'd give up anything on the gender critical side at this point because they're the only ones with any arguments. So I don't know. It feels like the pushback is like still going and yeah, I don't know. I think he's still figuring this out, to be honest. It seems like it was the last few days And then like he's kind of done this, like trying to consolidate his thoughts. Like, I don't know. But yeah, that's a point I disagree with personally.
Years now, everybody has been saying that woman is a cultural term.
Thank you, Christina. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't have to cope anymore by sort of acknowledging where I came from and what I am. But I feel like I've always like acknowledged it on some level. I've always thought, you know, I shouldn't be pretending that I'm not what I am. And I shouldn't be pretending that where I come from, where I'm, you know, a male at birth, I shouldn't be pretending that that just isn't anything and doesn't matter, you know?
And female is a biological.
I used to do a lot of reflecting. How so? Like, what's the issue? If you spell it out, I'll see if I agree.
Term. So with that thinking, and don't get mad at me, I'm just letting you know what the thinking is with that, the logic, because people ask me quite often. It's just what it is now though, but kind of you could say anybody can.
To be honest, I actually don't like J.K. Rowling very much. I think she is quite pathological. Like, I think that Amanka Leaf stuff, like, the only way to be smart about it really was to say that you don't really know what she is, if you know what I mean. Like, you don't know what sex she actually is because it's kind of complicated. And like, I don't know, I think she does kind of get off on it at this point. And so do the fucking idiots that like bait her 24/7 and then cry whenever she responds and a dipshit audience piles on them. Like, they're all in a cycle. She doesn't seem like she has any interest in breaking it. And to be fair, she's expressing herself. You know, I guess she feels that she should keep it up and like stick up for herself. And I get that. So it's a tough one, but like that whole repeated cycle of hatred and shit like that, you know, I didn't see the point in that. And I think she probably could like break it if she wanted to.
Can be a woman, but only people that are born female can actually be females. And like I said,
listen, you say like I disapprove of her. It's not like, I mean, she still exists. She's still out there and she's still very like influential. Like, I have my own opinion, but you know, ultimately my opinion doesn't even mean that much as it happens, you know.
it's unfortunate that that's where we found ourselves, but that is where we found ourselves now. And honestly, while I have your backs, I'm not fighting over words, because I had a similar thing happen, because I know some of you will be like, well, you don't support women. And it's like, I really do support women. I just don't fight over words.
Yeah, it seems like you get so many people. It feels like the same thing happens on the like far end of the gender critical side as it does on the TRA side, where it's like, if there's anything you disagree with, that means you don't support women, you're anti-women. Anything you don't support about trans, that's bad, you're anti-trans, you know? It feels like it goes both ways, and it's, you know, it's more of an extremist thing, I guess. You can probably find tons of like behavioral similarities between like TRAs and like hardcore Trumpers, you know what I mean? Like the ones that will delude themselves to be right about something.
For anybody. Like, there was a point in the fight for gay marriage when the word marriage was what gays were most worried about. And at that time, I
said I'm trans, but I don't have a gender. I'm not saying I don't have a gender. I'm saying I don't think I really have a gender identity. I don't know what it means to identify as something, and there's no real definition of what gender identity is. My best guess is that I have gender dysphoria, which has nothing to do with identity. It's dysphoria at my sex, at my gender. So that's like my theory on it. And hey, I could be wrong, but no one's really given me a good explanation of like identifying an identity. So, you know, if I'm presented with like better evidence or better ideas or something, then maybe, but I'm kind of the one waiting, if that makes sense.
I was telling other people within the gay community, why are we fighting over the word marriage? Who cares about the word marriage?
That's fair enough. I feel like a lot of gender criticals are extremely rigid to the point of, I don't know if I'd even say a lot of them, like quite a few of them don't actually care about trans people if they kind of aren't so loud and aren't like imposing themselves and stuff like that. But I don't know. There seems to be plenty of trans people who just want to fit in and be normal people as best they can, considering it's not normal to be trans. And then there's plenty of people who want to be seen as being trans and like part of the trans like thing. And they've got all the badges and the trans flag and the pin badges with fucking pronouns and, you know, hammer and sickles and anarchy symbols and ACAB and all that shit. Like, I don't know.
Why don't we come at it from the standpoint of marriage is a legal contract, and so I don't care what you call it. Just give me the right to have the same contract that every other American is entitled to.
Yeah, choosing an identity. But what does it mean to choose an identity? Does that mean you just choose your gender? If you're trans, it's just because you chose to be? Like, how can you choose your gender? And if you can choose your identity, then you can just choose to be the thing that gets to go in the women's spaces, aligning with that identity. Well, yeah, but cis people don't generally just identify as what they are. They just exist the way they are because it's the normal way. Like, cis is the default. People say it's not, but it is. If cis wasn't the default, we wouldn't all be here.
Gays were mad.
I didn't want to make transness my entire personality. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Like, I thought I'd be different from other people and just see if it was better, and I guess it is, because I don't feel like I'm a mindless zombie, so.
At me. My parents were married and my
Yeah, man and woman aren't really identities either.
grandparents were married and I want to be married too. Okay, well then you fight over marriage, because I'm not
To me, I think people form identities after being introduced to the concept of gender identity, because it's like external for them, and it might provide them with an escape. It might provide them with a chance to start a new life. I'm pretty certain that at least some of these older males that like then transition, often quite suddenly after having a particular life for a long time, like married with kids or whatever, I'm convinced that at least some of them, or even people like me and like that were like in their mid-20s and were just losers, you know, I think for some people in some ways it's like a life reset, you know what I mean? You're right, they aren't chosen, you're born that way. I had those feelings from young. Well, I had the feeling of wanting to be a girl. I never had the feeling of like, I am a girl. I had the feeling of like, I feel confused about who I am exactly for a long time. And, you know, I felt what probably some people would consider like non-binary when I was like 16 or something like that. But like, I don't know. We have such a concrete, well, not concrete, but like, this identity thing, this gender identity thing is such an overarching thing that is so important within trans circles. But yeah, I don't even know what it is, and I am trans, you know? I don't know what it means to identify as something. I just kind of am. And I've been drawn towards certain things, it feels like naturally. Maybe it's because of anything in my life, but I don't know that for sure, because we don't know that much about gender identity. So we don't know that much about gender dysphoria, should I say.
fighting over the word marriage, just like I'm not fighting over the word woman. Like, if it's about your safety and it's about access to your own spaces, then just say we want female only spaces and really push for that, and I'll get behind you as much as I can on all of that stuff. But as far as you worrying about just the word woman, and it has this significance and it has this, I don't care.
It's not learned. How do you know it's never learned? How do you know that for some people it seems more of an innate thing, and for others it seems like it's something that they learned about and then got onto, perhaps because there was appealing elements to it?
I don't care. Like, when people are worried about words, and I wouldn't care if you're gay, straight, male, female, bi, trans, whatever you are, I do not care about words like that. So even though some people may think I don't support them because I say that the word woman is a lost cause, if you want to join the fight for that along.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can disagree on stuff. I wish, like, with the trans, like, videos, if disagreements were able to be had, it'd probably be much less of a big deal to watch stuff and, like, actually critique it. You know what I mean? Like, someone like this, I think if we had a conversation and I was like, well, I don't know if they should be giving up the word women, especially when it seems like the pushback is underway. Like, I feel like he probably wouldn't lose his mind over it, hopefully, you know?
Alongside J.K. Rowling, you go ahead and do that. 100% you do that. But I am saying that as far as I go, this term does not matter, is not that important, and has been taken over. You can try to pry it from their cold.
Gender dysphoria is something I definitely learned, and the more I think about it, the worse I feel. Yeah, I think it can probably, if you learn about it and start thinking you have it when you don't, it can probably drag you in all sorts of directions.
Dead trans hands, but it's not gonna happen. And it really
is. Ty Rivera trans, by the way? I'm really confused. I don't know why. I keep thinking he's a trans woman, a trans man, and then being like, wait, no, surely not. I don't know. Well, either way, it doesn't matter, but
is other women that
People say that being racist is learned. Kids have proven to not be that way until taught. Well, wouldn't that support the argument that trans is more of a social thing, right?
That you have to blame for it. Like I said,
I think like hatred is innate of us. I think racism is a way it gets like spun out. Because like surely hatred of others back in the old days, you know, when we were tribes, we'd probably see like other people from different tribes and be like on guard by default because we don't know they're trying to kill us. And we won't really know until we meet them or whatever. So that's probably where like hatred in general comes from. And then people like use ways of justifying it, I guess. That's probably where I'd say it comes from. I mean, sometimes like bigotry can come from like trauma. You get assaulted by, say, a black person, and then you start generalizing them because you found a way of like projecting your hatred in a way that you've like justified to yourself, I guess.
I'm not trying to be mean. I just remember.
Yeah, I think racism probably is a social thing, and it's more like hatred. It's more like I think it's a universal thing, and I think people that are like always shitting on like white people, cis people, fucking cops, whatever the fuck, like they're doing the same thing. They're finding an outlet for their hatred that they believe is justified. That's how I think it works personally.
When this was going down, and I remember that I was being very clear with everybody about the fact that this should not be a thing. Trans women are trans women and women are women.
Yeah, we naturally favor others that share our genes. Yeah, probably because our tribes we probably look similar within our tribes and stuff, and others would look different. It's probably due to that, if anything. Like, I think it's a mixture of like social elements and like stuff that's deep down in us, because we have all sorts of stuff that isn't really suited to our environments. Because we evolved in a completely different world to where we now live. So things like anxiety and stress and stuff, like stress is like fight or flight, but we're not actually in danger. You know, you're at a keyboard, like you're dealing with like a difficult customer or something. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that come out in weird ways because we've changed in a way that certainly evolution would never like consider, because we're probably not meant to be how we are. Like when you like think about it for a sec, like everything around me, like it's kind of crazy I'm doing any of this, you know?
There's nothing wrong with making that distinction. So you have millennial women to thank for that have now moved on and are raising kids and married with families and left Gen X and everybody else holding the
thing is, like, these millennial women he talks about, and it's not that I disagree with him, but like, trans people did do a decent job of like convincing a lot of people, especially more left-leaning people, and like women as well, that supporting trans is like kind, you know, it's the kind thing to do. And I think nowadays, what we're actually putting out there about things like sports and things like, you know, women's spaces and trans and kids and stuff, they don't really realize that that's when they're talking about trans rights, a lot of the stuff they're talking about is things like that. Because that seems to be the examples that always come up. Because I don't know what rights we're really lacking at this point. For the most part, like there's things trying to come in places. And yeah, I disagree with plenty of them. But yeah.
The bag when
it's, yeah, like I said, like it's kind of a smokescreen. It's easy to say trans rights are human rights and people agree with you, and it's like they see the colors and they think that's what it is, but if you look into it, it kind of begins to look a bit sinister. So
it comes to that. And so this has become a ridiculous mess, and like I said, a lot of people have been mad at me lately, but for me it's as simple as I'm not fighting over a word. If you guys want to fight over the word women, have at it. I'll have your backs in the way that I know you are women, and I know that trans women are something different, and I will always maintain that because it's just factually correct. So anyway, on the note of trans women, I'm going to tell you
the only racism is in the world is what's taught. Well, it's not just what's taught, it's what happens to you over your life, it's your experiences, it's all sort of things. And like, you know, you say identity is part of you from the moment you're born. How so? Where is it? You can't pinpoint it anywhere because it's an idea. Where do ideas come from?
I'll tell you guys this. It'll show you how petty people are and how stupid people are, and then we'll be done with this episode. So the other day when I was getting into it with the terfs, because I said that trans women are trans women, which I've always said,
yeah, trans women are trans women, women are women. There we go. Easy.
Never am the type that's trying to say that trans women are.
In that sense, I understand what he's saying about not giving the word up, but allowing that, because ultimately when you're saying trans women, you are necessarily talking about a different thing to woman. And it's the trans woman that has the distinction on it, not woman. And that distinction is that that person was born male.
Are women. I don't agree with that as a...
Listen, people say things like terfs aren't feminists, but they definitely have the tendency to kind of pick on really small things that arguably don't matter. Like someone saying trans women are trans women, you know, like that's too much. Like we don't need that kind of shit.
Statement. Trans women are trans women. I cannot be clear enough about that. I've been that way ever since people started saying trans women. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to tell you guys about real quick, as far as how petty people are about these things and how little all of this matters to me, is the other day on X, and like I said, I'm going to do a full video.
Yeah, so like as a category of male, you don't necessarily have to say that to any trans woman you meet. So it's a kind of way of like referring to them. And yeah, to me, yeah, it is kind of manners. It's not like, this isn't how everyone should live their lives, shit like that. People aren't going to necessarily, people are still going to call me a man. I don't know. But like, that's fine. I don't care. Like, if someone wants to call me a male or a man, like they can, I guess. I just don't give a shit anymore. Identity changes and develops over time. Yeah. And a lot of it comes from your environment, your influences, and what happens to you in your life.
About it, but I was in this thing where I had said that trans women were trans women and women were women, and I was making a bigger point to it. On the small end of that point, obviously, was me and my spelling of trans women, and I never...
Oh, we put no space. Like, I don't know what the difference is between trans women, one word, and trans women. Ideally, it shouldn't matter because it's such a pointless, fucking petty thing, but apparently it matters, so hey.
Knew whether or not when I would spell out trans men or trans women, if I would put a space in between or...
Yeah, the idea that that harms anyone is ridiculous, but then the word harm is used so generically and so unclearly all the time that it just does my head in. Like, I honestly think that if people like refer to harm without being specific, I feel like in a conversation I have to be like, well, what harm are you talking about? Because it's so easy to just slip those things in, you know? And that's how they talk. It's like when someone like says, shit, what's an example from right here? Like, identity is something that's part of you from the moment you're born. It's so easy to just say that, but like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? And a lot of these people will slip like 10 things like this into one sentence, and it's like, Jesus Christ, where do I start?
Or if I would leave the space out and just make it like a compound word. So I'd put a space in one of them, and a guy sent me this. And at first I was snippy with him because people had been attacking me.
Wait, YouTube censors comments. I don't even know. I get, I have restream chat and I can see it on the stream thing because I have it open just behind my screen.
No lie, for 3 days on...
Some people think words are violence. I mean, if you're like trying to stir up violence, then yeah, I'd agree. But like calling someone who was born male a male, if that's violent, then I think I might need to just not be part of this world anymore because that's just like way too much.
An X. And
Poor woman, ugly woman, trans woman, old woman. No, wrong one. This doesn't fit. Well, it's like, but then... Oh, so are you saying you prefer the one without the space? I don't know. There's no difference between trans women and trans women. Like, it's a space. But like, people will like jump on you if you get it wrong. But then they're jumping on you for that because they don't have any actual arguments. And they're just looking for anything to jump on. And if it wasn't that, it would be something else. So, you know, like we see it all the time. Like, it's very difficult to get people to actually respond to a question or something meaningfully. A lot of the time it feels like quite a few of these activist types, they kind of talk, it's like they're not actually talking to you when they're talking to you. And like when you say something, it doesn't feel like they're responding to that. They're just making another statement instead. And it's kind of irritating. I don't know. It makes conversations feel very one way.
so this guy hits me up and he says, all I'd say is that I don't separate trans and woman to be trans space woman. I use trans woman as a compound term.
Yeah, I mean, anything like this is fine. No one can hear the space. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to say it like obviously, but like to me, like this does not matter. Like just call me what the fuck you want at this point. Like Do you care if there's a space between trans and woman? No, I don't. Fucking put one in, don't put one in. Put as many in as you want. Put a space between every single letter if you really want to.
To clearly differentiate the two.
But yeah, this is like the kind of shit that actually matters on fucking Twitter. It's bizarre. Like, how many years has it been that like waiting times for gender clinics has been getting worse and worse in the UK? And what do we talk about? Oh, we're trying to get into sports and we're trying to do it to kids because we're already so good at doing it to adults, clearly, not, you know. Crazy. It's crazy. Our priorities are completely fucked.
Otherwise, lexicologically speaking, a trans woman would be a type of woman as opposed to a type of male.
I mean, it's not that I don't get the point. I just don't really, meh. Yeah, inciting a mob to physically lynch someone, making personal threats can be violent. Yeah, that's generally where I put it. And I mean, I think there's certain words that potentially would count, but it's hard for me to talk about, like things like the N-word and stuff, but it's hard for me to talk about that for a hopefully obvious reason, that being that I am white. So I don't know, I'll let anyone else take that up, basically.
Living as like a woman. And to me, that made perfect sense. At first I was snippy with him because, like I said, people have been attacking me all day. But to me, that did make perfect sense, and it solved the problem in my head where I was like, okay, then I will no longer use a space in trans woman, again, to not only show respect to actual women, but also to show respect to trans women in the way that, yes, your experiences are different. And technically, you are a male living a feminine experience, if I can say it that way. Because I gotta tell you, it really sucks to be a person like me that really does have the best intentions and really is just trying to present things in a way that both sides could understand, because I really do feel like you guys could be bigger allies when it comes to actual transsexuals and women. I feel like maybe you guys could get it done if you guys really wanted it. I feel like women and trans women would band together and then maybe make it so it was just trans and leave it at that, or feminine trans, or however you want to say it. But I don't feel like
Ultimately, whatever term we come up with, someone's going to have a problem with it from one side or the other. I don't think it really matters all that much, honestly. Like, these kind of disputes, they're ridiculous whether they're on like the TERF side or the trans side. Like, I don't know. I'm starting to zone out because, not because this video is boring or because he's being dumb or something, but because I just don't, like, who cares? Like, I kind of feel his pain because it's like, whatever you say, it's going to just be ridiculous to someone. Yeah, I use hair spaces. I think it's the new thing. It's going to come on, you know? It's going to catch on, should I say. Are we moving the conjunction to be human progressive? Oh, I'm sorry, Christina. I'll agree with everything you say from now on if you want.
like it's gonna happen the way it's happening, where women are trying to be like this, and then the trans activists are like this.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. It's more just like well, we should use trans women because, or we should use trans women because, or we should use this, that, or the other. But people get so angry about it. It's just kind of crazy. But I mean, I don't know. I think as long as we're keeping the default as women being actual women, you know, like, isn't that the most important thing?
And regular trans people are just sort of like, I don't know what's going on. And then also the everyday woman thinks that she's under attack.
I can't we all just get along? Well, I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, we're human beings. What can I tell you? I don't know. I feel his pain. I don't agree with everything he says, but like, I don't know. I quite like Ty Rivera, to be honest.
Which ideally she's not, or technically she's not. But anyway, so in my head, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'll just type it like a compound word from now on. Trans woman.
You're not mad about the whole language around trans. You found it weird getting a diagnosis got you an LGBT membership. Okay. I was in like suddenly being lumped in with all these other people or something.
Both together. And then somebody comes along and very succinctly puts what I was trying to say in one of the tweets that I had put out. They rephrased it, and to me, again, works out perfectly. Trans women are trans women. Women are women.
Oh, so he's trying to say we'll do the trans women thing. I don't know. I mean, if people want to call me a transsexual instead, it's like, again, I don't care. Call me that. I'm happy for people to have their own, like, jargon or whatever, because I don't really care what I'm called anymore. I feel like, and I've experienced this on the other end too, for those that have been around a short while longer, like, the main reason we'd have these like pronouns and stuff like that and be so hard on them, it seems like we want to put up barriers to like conversation, where if we want to talk to a person at all, we have to go by their rules and like use their like pronouns. Like that whole thing with like Jess doing activism person when they showed up in my Discord. It's like there's no conversation until we get the pronouns right and we address me correctly. It's like, it's crazy. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to cut myself off from the world. That's fine. We're not far done, to be honest, though. It's about 4 minutes left, and I don't know. I'm not going to be doing it that much longer, but it's up to you. If you want to head off, then it's good to see you again.
Which is what I said. But they go on. I really feel that true trans individuals know this and have no issues with the reality of their dysphoria. Again, true. Every actual transsexual I know is not trying to say that they are the opposite sex.
Yeah, that's like me, I guess. And I mean, I don't know. I think we need to distinguish transsexuals from other things, to be honest. There's no other way at this point.
Saying that they would like to present as the opposite sex. That's where they're the most comfortable. Okay, so she goes on. Transsexuals also tend to be more respectful of biological women. The issue is the general population of people can't tell the difference between trans.
Yeah, this like transgender label. Listen, let's get rid of the transgender label. Okay, we'll have transsexual, and then we'll have non-binary and or queer. You can have both of them. That's a 2-for-1. I think that's fair. And then if you're like actually going between the sexes and actually changing things to match more of that, then that's when you're more transsexual. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, if you're just doing whatever and like challenging the binary or whatever by looking like all your friends, then fair enough. But like, it's not the same thing to me.
Transsexuals and transgender. All that's seen as the trans activist, delusional and hateful rhetoric, especially towards biological women. And that person in that tweet is spelling trans women altogether, not putting a space in. Trust me, this shouldn't matter, but it does. So then I just reply with yes, yes, and yes. You actually summed up what I meant really well. Thank you. So
don't call me trans women, don't call me women, just call me Superman. Nice.
That was after 3 days of people coming for me like crazy just for sticking to my guns.
My pronouns are extremely strict. I go by she, him. Yeah, is it she? Yeah. She, him, theirs. There you go. You can only talk to me in those words. And otherwise, we can't talk ever.
And saying that trans women are trans women and real women are real women. Keep that in mind. This is after 3 days of people trying to tell me that I should just refer to trans women as men. That's what a lot of them were saying. That's what they were sending me. This is well documented, by the way.
Because this is the thing. At a certain point, these terfs that are like shooting down this kind of stuff, they're trying to compel speech just as much as like the trans people at a certain point. When you try and insist that everyone uses like sex pronouns, I see like people like Chad Logic who tend to get quite, you know, not necessarily the most pro-trans audiences or whatever, kind of telling these people that like keep trying to correct his like pronouns and stuff when he says ones that aren't the sex ones. Like, they end up finding these people more annoying than the woke people that try and correct pronouns and stuff like that and push that. Because it's the same kind of thing. Like, I do think people need to lighten up a little bit, including not just like forcing this shit like on everyone. Like, your worldview has to be correct. And that's why I have a problem with like both extremes.
Isn't just me saying this. It's easily verifiable. Go to X. Check out my X. I got
like, because if I was calling like trans men she all the time, and I had woke people in my audience constantly telling me, no, it's he. Like, what's the difference between that and me calling a trans man he, and a bunch of people showing up being like, no, it's she. Like, it's irritating either way. Like, why not just not do that, you know? Why not just care less about this kind of shit? Even though, you know, there's reasons to care, but it's like, it's not life or death, like when other people refer to someone else as something else.
Garage. There were thousands of people, literally. And I was still trying to be respectful, not to the people that were attacking me. Believe me, I came for them too. But as far as my point always staying, women are women, trans women are trans women. At no point did I say trans women are women. And yes,
it would take me mental effort to misgender a passing trans person. Yeah. It's a bit like, what's that clip of Ben Shapiro like calling Laverne Cox a she and then correcting himself? It's because we don't pronoun people based on sex. Like, pronouns don't work based on sex. And they also don't really work based on you being told what to use, because someone can just refuse. So like your mileage is only ever going to vary there. Generally, we use it based on what we perceive. Like if I look at this person, I don't know whether they're a male or a female, but I see the beard and shit, I'm going to say, oh, he. You know what I mean? Like that's how we use them.
They are biological males. They are men, if you want to say. I don't care. I just so don't care in that way that I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. Facts are facts, right? So then this trans woman comes along the next day and says, in regards to the person that posted the trans women are trans women, the tweet I just read you, comes along and says, hey, she's not trans, she's a TERF. Her entire account.
Oh, this person is mental. She's a TERF, blah, 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 which who knows? Like, fake claiming, I thought that wasn't very woke, but apparently it's fine, so I'm going to fake claim anyone I choose to, quite honestly. And if someone calls me transphobic, then, well, people like this are the problem. You should talk to them and not me. Okay, thank you. Trans women isn't a giveaway. Like, this is what I mean. It's so fucking petty. And these kind of people will use, oh, you must be a TERF because you said trans women. Like, it's pathetic. I hate it on both sides. This person is a TRA. I hate it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter, but it's just stupid. Like, just stop this. It's not hard. Why would you want to be arguing about pronouns? Why not talk about literally anything else? Because it's guaranteed to be more interesting and relevant to anything in society that actually matters.
Is dedicated towards trashing trans people. She doesn't care about any of us. Trans women, no space, is a dead giveaway. Trans is an adjective. So trans space women is how you say it. Using it one word is intentionally disrespectful. So at that point, I just
like deranged. Basically, deranged.
Send her back, okay, well, I'm a TERF too. If that's what that means, then I'm a TERF too, and I don't care. And so my point in all of this is, on both sides, I think cooler heads need to prevail in order to have people like me actually be able to support anything. Because there does come a point with me where I feel like, well, I'm not a woman.
Going around swiping at randos on the internet won't take you too far. Well, I mean, that's what Twitter's been forever. And I mean, when I came back to Twitter this year, because I set up this account to go with my my stream and all that, it kind of struck me immediately how nothing has changed. Like, we're still like constantly like going at JK Rowling. When I last used it like years ago, there was all these trans people like constantly asking JK Rowling with all this shit. It's like nothing has changed, and our ideology hasn't changed. The shit we say hasn't really changed. We're just pushing the kids thing a lot and the sports thing a lot, and we're taking L's left, right, and center because we prioritize stupid shit instead of just accepting it. So yeah, I used the trans woman thing someone said. I was using a TERF dog whistle. Yep, that sounds about right.
And I'm not a trans woman. So if you guys want to continue to fight it out about petty little things that nobody cares about, and a space or a no space or the...
See, I'm the same. Like, I'd rather just find different things to talk about.
Like, I refuse to talk to trans people even though I'm a woman and I want to get this particular thing done, or want people to understand that I am this particular thing and maybe there should be no...
Yeah, Mav Magic, I'm exactly the same. I just don't care. Like, I don't even care if people call me a man really at this point, but like, I super don't care about whether there's a space or not. Twitter, yeah, I don't fucking know. It's not good, you know.
variations or whatever you're saying. If you refuse to talk to each other, stop coming to people like me and being like, don't say this and don't say, tell that bitch, go talk to them about it. Because people like me are just trying to do our best to respect. And when I know women that do care and women that don't care, how do I decide which woman is more important? How do I decide which...
This kind of reminds me of whenever someone comes to me telling me something that I actually agree with, but they don't think I do agree with it, probably because I'm trans. A lot of the time I'm like, yeah, I'm not really the one you should be having this conversation with. I'm like fine with that, you know?
Which woman I'm supposed to listen to. Should I listen to the women that are fine with trans women going into the bathrooms and whatever else with trans women? Should I listen to them? Or should I listen to the women that say they're afraid of it and they don't think it's good? So how am I supposed to decide? And out of genetic females, out of actual women, how do I decide which woman's voice is more important? Because that's kind of what you're asking me to do in some cases. Because you forget, I come from a world where both are a thing. There are actual women, females, that don't care and are welcoming of trans people in women's spaces. And there are females that really do care and think that it's dangerous. So how am I, as a man who doesn't present as anything but a man, doesn't claim to be anything but a man, how do I decide which woman I'm supposed to listen to over the other? So all I've learned from this is whether it's a trans woman or an actual woman, women are unreasonable, and that's the reason I'm gay. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. As always, this has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.
There we go. Ty Rivera. I more or less agree. I feel what he's feeling. And like the more point of looking at that kind of stuff is it seems like people are moving a little bit. It seems like it seems like we're gonna we're gonna see more people getting sick of both sides. That Jack Jewel guy is another example of that. Yeah, he's been like really like going crazy on Twitter, but I'm like here for it because I agree with him. Sometimes, you know, like you see someone going crazy on Twitter, like, oh, they're spurging out and stuff. I maintain that sometimes spurging out is actually a good thing because like sometimes you're right and you should be fucking spurging out, you know? But I guess I would say that.